Hello everyone, the Army of Otters here, and welcome back to the 50th episode of the Unexplored Capital Wasteland. Today we're going to be checking out Paradise Falls, or known as the Paradise Falls Shopping Center in the pre-war era. However, by the time of Fallout 3, it is run by Eulogy Jones, and is the epicenter of the Capital Wasteland's slave trade, making it a pretty dark place within Fallout 3. But of course, Fallout 3 is full of choices, and you can either choose to help the slavers or to work against them. Also worth mentioning that this location was recommended to me by Wesley Gossett almost 8 months ago. I apologize for taking so long to get here, but we're finally here, and part of the reason was I knew it would be hell of a fight. So Paradise Falls is located in the center northern part of the map. It's kind of isolated from other locations, but it's very recognizable on the world map just because of the road situation. Now, as I approached towards Paradise Falls, I came from the northwest, and there was actually a lot going up on this ridge, a lot more than I could have ever anticipated. There was some Yaogwai that attacked me and dog meat, and also there was a sentry bot. That was quite a difficult fight, but a lot of crazy things started happening, and it was pretty cool. You can see the sentry bot there on the top of the hill that is just overlooking Paradise Falls. And as the fight began to take off, I decided to use missiles, and the sentry bot was also using missiles, and there are tons of cars on the road to my left, and they just started blowing up like crazy. There was so much chaos. Who knows what happened to poor dog meat? But yeah, in all the chaos, we came out on top, so that's what I'm talking about. And there is one really interesting thing of note on this roadway that's just northwest of Paradise Falls. Besides, obviously, all the cars up here where people probably died during the Great War when the atomic bombs went off, there is one car that is standing perfectly up straight in the ground. And I thought that was really odd. And when I approached this location, this car is actually what drew me to this area. It's kind of a really odd sight. The car is right here, just sticking up straight out of the ground, right next to this tree. Don't know how it got like that or why it's there, but I thought it was interesting. Now, on the northern side of Paradise Falls, there's really nothing over on this area. And in fact, Paradise Falls is a very isolated place, and I guess it makes sense, right? There's slavers that inhabit it, so people don't want to go near it. And the first time you try to enter, you'll be confronted by this guy, Grouse. And Grouse is a bit of a dick, obviously. He's a slaver, and he's responsible for letting in customers or slavers. And, of course, he charges you to enter, or you have to complete a quest enslaving 5 people for him. Or you can just do what I did, and that was kill him. But this conversation is quite long, and you can try and negotiate with him, but I could not get in for free. So you know what? It's just time to kill some slavers. So I opened fire on Grouse, and then he had his pal in the back, who, we also killed, me and dog meat, just a normal slaver. Now, as we approach the actual door to Paradise Falls, for the first time you'll encounter 3 NPCs, Forty here, Carter, and Sammy. Now, unfortunately, our friend Carter, who is a slave, will always die. His death is unpreventable, at least on console. Obviously, on PC, you could use console commands. But here we are killing 40, and as we approach, you're going to see Carter running away from Paradise Falls. However, he has an explosive neck collar on him that will detonate. I tried to shoot him to scare him away, which worked for a little bit. But when I put my weapon away, Carter became friendly again, and he started running again, and then pop goes the weasel. So while very unfortunate, it is unavoidable. Now, if we head on over, we can find Sammy, who is a child slave, and this is really dark for a video game. Anyways, if you talk to Sammy, he'll mention that he has other friends inside, and that they need to get home. They're from Little Lamplight. So, of course, being the respectable gentleman that I am, and already kind of making myself an enemy of the slavers, I decide to help him. Now, over here in the northern kind of corner, there's like a tree and some stuff, but there's really nothing over here. And I think this area feels really empty, and I wish there was a bit more to it just to make it feel more like, hey, these are slavers, they're very bad, but they have a very large trade going on. Anyways, as we approach, we can see some bodies or skeletons up in the Paradise Falls sign, and then we have a large fight ahead of us, as at this point, every slaver in existence, well, hates us. So, just make your way through. Luckily, I have Dogmeat with me, who is an absolute boss, and just kind of make your way through the slavers if you chosen this path. Obviously, you could choose the peaceful path, which I will showcase a bit more later in this video, if you want to see what it looks like to be more evil. But all of these people will attack you, even Clover here, who is actually a slave to Eulogy Jones, the leader. I use a mini nuke here, and that was pretty successful, actually, in getting rid of a lot of them. Then there's a slaver up top with a minigun. I was trying to snipe him because I didn't realize you could go up there. Then I was like, oh wow, Dogmeat's up there. Go, Dogmeat. And then, yeah, there's a staircase, though, behind. That'll allow you to go up there. And then as we continue on into Paradise Falls, we're just going to have to kill everyone, really, at this point. Except for, of course, the slaves that are in the cages. They will remain on your side, obviously. Now, some of these are named NPCs, some of them are just slaver. Either way, make sure you loot all their bodies. That way you get some ammunition, you can fix up your guns. And, you know, it's pretty good loot, actually. Over here we have the bar or kitchen area. On the pool table, make sure to pick up the break, which is a unique melee weapon. It's a unique pool cue. And inside this room, we can find the leader, Eulogy Jones, who has some kind of sexy shenanigans going on in here, but none of my business. Anyways, he's actually kind of difficult because he has a scoped 44 on him, which deals hell of a lot of damage. And then Dogmeat ran in there after that grenade. I threw a grenade in after Dogmeat. Either way, Dogmeat's okay, and we were able to kill Eulogy Jones. Now, underneath the staircase here, you can find 5 bottles of Nuka-Cola Quantum, which is pretty darn good. So make sure you take all of these bottles. Now, one of them is kind of hidden, or not really hidden, it's just kind of difficult to get. And I was trying to pick up this box like an absolute idiot. And I was like, wait, I have a shotgun, I can just shoot the box. Wow, way to go there, Otter. Anyways, back in the main room, we can find the holotape. And this has a very interesting recording.
We have a little assignment from the Commonwealth. A very important slave escaped into the wasteland. Well, it's not exactly a slave. It's what they call an android, a kind of synthetic man. The important thing isn't what this guy is. The important thing is the job pays more than you can imagine. He thinks the synth man might be looking to get in touch with a doctor or a tech head. If you want to cut, then get a move on.
This is one of many ways to start the quest, the replicated man, and also there's the bobblehead for speech, make sure you pick that up. But anyways, more about the replicated man. He is from the Commonwealth, which we just started our series on, obviously, in Fallout 4. And obviously, he is a synth. He's not human. Or at least he's not human from a biological perspective, but maybe he's more human than some humans, like these slavers, haha. But yeah, anyways, big reference to the Commonwealth. Obviously, this game was well before Fallout 4. Also, there's a terminal and a safe, but there's really nothing in the safe, but you can still open it for the EX or the XP, and you can pick it or use your hacking skills to get it open. Besides that, there's really not a whole lot in here. Now, up here, we can actually find a small balcony with a bathtub, so I just like to imagine Eulogy Jones takes baths in front of everyone, staring at his creation. Then, near the entrance to Paradise Falls, we can find the Salvers Barracks, and here is Caroline Red. And man, am I very happy about this killing, as you'll see later for a certain reason. Anyways, inside the Salvers Barracks, this is obviously where the slavers would live and hang out. The pool table is set up for beer pong, which is pretty hilarious. Obviously a very popular drinking game. And around here, there's really not a whole bunch in the way of loot. But on the shelf over here, we can find a Vault 77 jumpsuit. And a very, very interesting holotape.
Like I told you, man, I don't fucking know where it came from, but it freaks the boys out. Some story from a while back about a stranger with no name. Just get rid of the damn thing. Ain't no good gonna come from keeping it around. Besides, if it is his, maybe he'll come back for it. Comprende?
Now, obviously, every vault had an experiment going on, and in Vault 77, only one man entered the entire vault, and he was only given an entire crate of puppets for company. So obviously he went absolutely fucking insane. Now, Vault 77 was featured in a promotional crossover comic strip entitled One Man and a Crate of Puppets that was released to promote Fallout 3. And by the sounds of it, it sounds like these slavers had a very bad encounter with, well, somebody wearing that jumpsuit. Obviously, the survivor of Vault 77 would have died a long time ago. Now, in the building next door, we can find the clinic, and this clinic is a bit dark. I got stuck there for a second, but then we killed Cutter really easily. And that name might be a bit scary, and there are some interesting things going on in here. Notably, there's like a lot of children stuff. There's like a crib and a teddy bear, and we can imagine that slaves are probably taken here for their collars or for medical checkups or physical checkups to make sure they can be sold off to the next person. Pretty freaking dark. Also, this room looks pretty terrible. There's ant meat. Why is there so many meats on the floor? Is it Arby's? I don't know. Now, after that, I decided to actually head over to the slave pens, and we can find the adult slaves and the kid slaves. Now, the adult slaves make up various people, including Breadbox, who is an old man that has lost his mind. We can assume that he has really bad dementia or Alzheimer's. Then there is this ghoul lady who's also a bit whacked. And inside of the slave house, there's just a bunch of beds in really bad living conditions. Looks like there's blood on the floor. It looks like it smells really bad. There's fungus in the corner. It's just terrible. Over here, we can find an average locked gate. There's just one bed inside and no loot. Not sure why it's there. Then over here, we can find the children. And upon opening the gate, you can talk to Squirrel, and he says that somehow, someway, he has disabled or shorted the fence system, so nobody's collars will explode anymore. That is very convenient. Glad I didn't have to do that. Thanks, Todd. Anyways, they will now pretty much escape on their own, and you can enter the children's slave room. Now, they'll run into the building next to the slave pens. Just wanted to point out, in this box here, we can find Rory. And poor Rory here was really good friends with the children, but upon engaging in hostile activities with the slavers, they will kill Rory, but you can save him if you're peaceful up to a point. And then in here, the children will escape through this tunnel, but we cannot fit in it because we're not a child. So we don't know what's in there, but they will escape to the outside. Now, since the fence thing is now shorted, thanks to Squirrel, we can actually tell all of the adults to escape as well. However, Breadbox is too stupid, or not really stupid, but his Alzheimer's is too far advanced that he won't escape. But the other guys, they will just make a run for it, and if there's any slavers left, they will be gunned down instantly because they have very low health. So do be careful when you tell them to escape. Make sure you've actually killed all of the slavers. Otherwise, these slaves are toast. But after you free them, they'll just run off into the capital wasteland, and they're free, and you're a good person. Wow, look at that. After that, I headed outside, and I talked with Sammy. And Sammy here was very grateful, obviously, and he said he'd meet up with his friends and head back to Little Lamplight. Now, I was reading on the wiki. Sometimes they'll spawn on the other side of Paradise Falls, Sammy and his friends, outside of, like, the sewer system. For whatever reason, though, Sammy was still at the entrance, but more convenient for me. After that, I realized I almost forgot to enter Lock and Load. This is like the armory slash weapons vendor for Paradise Falls. Pretty easy to kill them, but then we can steal this silenced 10mm pistol and just kind of take whatever loot that you want. There's a lot of good guns, and something that is important to note is stealing inside Paradise Falls does not result in negative karma. While it's still stealing, there's no karma loss, which I think makes a lot of sense. Stealing from slavers doesn't seem bad to me. Now, within the armory, there's some interesting things, like this skeleton in a cage with a party hat. Also, there's a door that we can take, and if we follow these doors, it leads us to this basement, and there's a lot of cages and some skeletons down here. This skeleton appears to have had his or her leg cut off and put in a bathtub for some reason. Don't know what's going on there. There's all the cages. Pretty terrible stuff. But anyways, as I mentioned earlier, the area around Paradise Falls is rather empty. And directly to the east of Paradise Falls, I honestly had no clue what was here between Paradise Falls and the Germantown Police headquarters. And I found out there's pretty much fucking nothing. Now, if we head to the southeast, we can find this abandoned, obviously destroyed house. And inside this house is a copy of Guns and Bullets on the bookshelf. So definitely make sure to come down here and get your free copy of Guns and Bullets. Pretty freaking easy. But besides that, there really isn't a whole lot in this house. I decided to check out the mailbox. There was some pre-war money that I didn't pick up because I'm an idiot. But anyways, a vertibird then took off, and I was like, oh, there's an enclave spot here, which is pretty cool. And then I realized we had 3 enclave soldiers fighting 3 super mutants, and I just could not help myself from intervening. I pulled out a mini nuke to fire off at the super mutants, which actually managed to kill one of the enclave soldiers. I was pretty impressed. And then I used a minigun to deal with the enclave. And this battle was pretty freaking awesome. I was not expecting it, and I got some pretty decent loot out of it. Mainly, I was able to repair my Tesla power armor because one of the enclave soldiers had it. So, thank you very much, good sir. I really, really appreciate that. And as promised, I decided to show you around a bit Paradise Falls when you're friendly with the slavers. And one thing is for sure, I mean, these people are slavers, but they are really fucking rude.
The fuck you looking at, huh?
Sorry, bro. Got nothing to say to you.
I can't believe that
I can't believe that Grouse let you in here.
You don't exactly look like you.
No, it is not nice. What do you want?
Why, look what we have here. Some fresh meat, right out of the wastes. You just want to go ahead and jump in the pen with the others? Or should I beat you senseless and drag you there myself?
Hello, I am Ymir.
At least Ymir is nice. But Eulogy Jones is also quite respectful towards you, even if he is an evil scumbag. And we can negotiate the price for the 3 children in the cages. So there is a way to free the children and remain on good terms with the slavers. It'll cost you 2,000 caps, or if you can pass a speech check, it'll cost you 1,200 caps. And then the children will meet you at the front entrance. At first they are hesitant, but then you're like, shut up, you dumb asshole. I'm trying to rescue you. And then they're like, oh, okay. We don't really trust you, though. That's a little bit weird. Random strangers just don't pay 1,200 caps for random people they don't know in order to rescue them. But that is exactly what I did because, well, I am amazing. Anyways, after that, we will leave. And the children shout, we're free! Wow, just do that right in front of the slavers, why don't you? Idiots. Anyways, guys, there you have it. Paradise Falls, perhaps one of the most evil places in the Capital Wasteland. Of course, the Enclave and Raven Rock might just take the cake, but it's a pretty close call. What do you guys think? What is your guys' opinion of Paradise Falls? While I do think it's an interesting location, it's very dark, it does add a lot to the Capital Wasteland and the eastern part of America in the Fallout universe. I do feel like the area around it is pretty empty, considering it's the headquarters of the slave trade. Within the Capital Wasteland, I would expect a little bit more in terms of like city and money and this things going on. But with that being said, it is worth mentioning that traveling merchants will stop by Paradise Falls. Man, they are pretty freaking brave, like Doc Hoff here. And the last thing of interest is that there's this large statue of a boy with an ice cream hovering above, or just standing above, Paradise Falls Shopping Center. And this boy was influenced by the Big Boy restaurant mascot. Now, Big Boy is a burger chain within the United States. It's still operational, I found out. And the reason I say that is I never went there. I never even knew about it until I moved to Japan. Big Boy is really popular in Japan. However, in Japan, it's not a hamburger restaurant. It's like a meatloaf or Hamburg steak restaurant, which I thought was really funny. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any recommendations or ideas for future videos, please post them in the comments section below. And as always, until next time.
Hello, I am Ymir.